Jayarad Umadova Kundavihate Gopi Janavalabha Girivarad Hagate Gopi Janavalabha Girivarad Hagate Yasuranandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasuranandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachate Yamunatira Vanachate Jayaranhu Madhava Kunjavihare Jayarad Umadhova Kundavihate Gopidana Malabha Ire Vadadhahote Gopi Jana Balaba Girivadodhate Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachate Yamuna Tira Vanachate Jayaranhu Madhava Kunabhigate Jayarad Umadhova Kundavihate Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravidacharya Siddhara Siddhashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopi Gopinath, Sayam Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Mathuranam Ki Jai, Jagannath Swami Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachani Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatate Shatari. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 52nd Chapter, Text 22. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Rukmi Agrajo Rukmarato Rukma Bahur Anantaraha. Whoops, hold on a second. Just skipped. Rukmakesho Rukmamani Rukmini Esha Swasa Sati. Okay. Rukmajajo Rukmart Rato. Actually, when you have the Y there and the A, the words run into one. It's Ruk Ya Grajo Rukmar Rato. Got it? Ruk Ma Grajo Rukmar Rato. Got it? Okay. Rukma Bahur Anantara. Rukma Keshu Rukma Mali. Rukmin Yesha Svasasati. Rukma Grajo Rukma Rato. Rukma Bahur Anantara. Rukma Kesho Rukma Mali. Rukmin Yesha Svasasati. Rukma Grajo Rukma Rato. Rukma Bahur Anantara. Rukma Kesho Rukma Mali. Rukmin Yesha Swasasati. Okay. 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 Rukmi. Rukmi. Agraja, the firstborn. Rukma Rata, Rukma Bahu, Rukma Rata and Rukma Bahu. Anantara, following him. Rukma Kesha, Rukma Mali, Rukma Kesha and Rukma Mali. Rukmini, Rukmini. Esha, she. Swasa, sister. Sati, of saintly character. So translation. Rukmi was the firstborn son, followed by Rukma Rata, Rukma Bahu, Rukma Kesha, and Rukma Mali. Their sister was the exalted Rukmini. So you can repeat. Rukmi was the firstborn son, followed by Rukma Rata, Rukma Bahu, Rukma Kesha, and Rukma Mali. Their sister was the exalted Rukmini. So there's no purport by the followers of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada here, but there are just as short commentaries by the Acharyas. Jiva Goswami writes, Anantara should be understood that with each brother successfully, they are listed in order of birth. Since Rukmini was the youngest, she was the favorite of her parents. She was excellent in qualities and beauty. Sati. And Sanatana Goswami comments, as the eldest son, Rukmini was to be respected by all. Rukmini was the youngest, their sister, Swasa, endowed with all qualities. So, and I think we'll go on to the next text. Hold on a second. All right. Text 23. Sopashruta Mukundasya Rupa Virya Gunashriya Grahagatar Giyamanas Tammene Sadrasham Patim. Translation. Hearing of the beauty, prowess, transcendental character, and opulence of Mukunda from visitors to the palace who sang his praises, Rukmini decided that he would be the perfect husband for her. And here there's a purport by the followers of Srila Prabhupada. The word Sadrasham indicates that Rukmini and Sri Krishna had similar qualities and thus were naturally attracted to each other. King Bhishmaka was a pious man, and therefore many spiritually advanced persons must have visited his palace. These saintly persons undoubtedly preached openly about the glories of Sri Krishna. And commentaries here. Actually, there's important commentary by Jiva Goswami. Krishna was a wealth of beauty, prowess, and qualities. Though prowess is included within qualities, it is mentioned separately because this quality was expected of anyone who was a Kshatriya. The order in which the items give bliss are as follows: beauty, prowess, and then other qualities. She heard from being close to all, came to her father's house, and sang his glories. Since many poets had composed songs about him, they described him loudly in sweet voices with affection. He was suitable because of similarity with her. So, Om Gana Timidanda Shah, Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur, On Militam, Yena Tosmai, Shigurve Namaha. So the question is, how does this relate to us? It's a very important question. So Rukmini developed her attachment for Krishna. Of course, her attachment is actually eternally there. Obviously, she's eternally married to Krishna. But somehow or other, because of the influence of Krishna's Yogamaya, she forgot that. So this is very interesting. It's Yogamaya which covers it, but eternally it's like that. And in the same way, we are eternally connected to Krishna in a particular ras, relationship, rati. But we've forgotten it. Now, we've forgotten it, why? Not because of Yogamaya. We've forgotten it because of, anybody know? Mahamaya, because of our desire. But the process of waking up to our eternal nature is the same process that Rukmini is undergoing at this point. It's the process of hearing. Because when one hears, as we have always mentioned about the holy name, that Nama Rupa Guna Lila, or Nama Guna Rupa Lila, in that order, whatever order, that the sound vibration is a manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there's a very interesting verse I wanted to read in this regard about how Shabda is a manifestation of the Lord. There's two manifestations of the Lord that awaken us to our relationship with Him. And this is a verse from the 6th canto, 16th chapter, text 51. I'm not so expert that I memorize all these verses like our previous class, but anyway, so I have to read. So this is Lord Krishna talking to Chitraketu and explaining how he manifests his presence in this world so the conditioned souls can come to him. And I think this is a very important verse. 6:16:51, if anyone, if you want to note that down. Aham vai sarva bhutani bhutatma bhuta bhavanaha shabda brahma param brahma mamo ve shashvati tanu. I mentioned there's two ways he manifests here. Tanu means two bodies. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. And so, let me read the synonyms. It's really aham vai, aham I vai, indeed. Sarva bhutani, expanded in different forms of living entities. Bhuta atma, the super soul of all living entities, that is the supreme director and enjoyer of them. Bhuta bhavanaha, the cause for the manifestation of living entities. Shabda Brahma, the transcendental sound vibration, that is the Hare Krishna mantra, as Prabhupada puts in parentheses here. Param Brahma, the supreme absolute truth. Mama, my. Ube, both, that is namely the form of sound and the form of spiritual identity. Explain what that means in a second. Shashvati, eternal. Tanu, two bodies. So Prabhupada's translation here is just so interesting. All living entities, moving and non-moving, are my expansions and are separate from me. You know, like Mama Vamsa Jiva Bhute, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Manashakstani, Indriyani, Pragatistani, Karshati, and struggling within this world. I am the super soul of all living beings who exist because I manifest them. I am the form of the transcendental vibrations like Omkara and Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, and I am the supreme absolute truth. These two forms of mine, listen to this, namely the transcendental sound and the eternal, blissful, spiritual form of the deity are my eternal forms. They are not material. So these two forms of the Lord, Shabda and Rupa, in one sense, that Shabda means sound vibration, and Rupa basically refers to the Archa Vigraha, or Sri Vigraha. It's interesting, I was listening to a class the other day that the word Vigraha can also refer to just body, anyone's body. It doesn't necessarily just mean the deity. So it's good to prefix it with Sri Vigraha or Archa Vigraha when you talk about it. Talk about him, not just it. Sorry, got to be careful about my nomenclature. So these are the two forms the Lord comes to us in that awaken our spiritual identity, which we've forgotten. And as we mentioned many times before, that there's this controversy as to whether we've forgotten it or we never had it and we're given it. Big controversy, but Lord Chaitanya answers this, or Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami answers this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita with this famous verse, which I've often quoted, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, where's the rest of that verse? I forget right now. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Sajakoro Noi, Shavanade Shudachite, Kore Udoi. That Krishna Prem is not something that we obtain, it's something we have. And it's awakened by the form of sound vibration and also by the Srimurti. Like we've experienced sometimes, that people come to the temple and they look at the deity and they immediately, even if they've had no experience with Krishna consciousness before, it sort of awakens their consciousness. And that's also why we have Rath Yatra, so that people look at the deity of Lord Jagannath, or look at Gaur Nitai, and or Radha and Krishna, their consciousness is awakened. Anyway, so these are the two manifestations of the Lord. So all of us, another famous verse, Brahmanda Brahmate Konnava Guran Jeev Guru Krishna Prasadi Bhai Bhakti Latapish. All of us have been wandering throughout all the universes, or at least this universe. And by the mercy of Krishna, we come in touch with the Lord in one of these two forms. Generally, we do come in the initial stage to the sound vibration, or Shabda Pramana. And I'm going to quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam that stresses the importance of this Shabda Pramana in awakening Krishna consciousness. And this is the famous verses 1, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text 17 to 21. And I'm going to quote all those verses without the synonyms. Shrimbata Swakata Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Vidyantaksto Yavadrani Vidunoti Suritsatam Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttamarutshoke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki Tada Rajas Tamo Bhava Kama Lova Dayaschaye Cheta Aitaya Anavidam Sitam Sattve Prasiddhiti Evam Prasana Manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogata Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasha Jayate Vijate Hridaya Grantis Chidyante Sarvasangshaya Shiyante Chasyakarmani Drishta Evat Manishvare. So, translation is, to hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best friend, best wishing friend, and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. There's that operative word there, dormant transcendental knowledge. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of asamshaya samagram. That means understanding the supreme absolute truth personality of Godhead. Shamshayam, without any doubt. So, of course, it's important to hear from the right person, not simply to hear Bhagavatam from a professional reciter, as Prabhupada mentions many times. And of course, Prabhupada quotes this verse often. Avaishnava mukod girnam putam harikatam ritam shravananaivat kartavyam sarpo chistiyatapayam. That if one hears about Krishna from someone who is not a Vaishnava, it will have adverse effects. It'll be like drinking milk that is touched by the serpent. So one has to seek out the right person to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam from. And of course, the right person are pure devotees of the Lord. And of course, there's this verse 3:25, which is one of my favorite verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam that talks about this, that if one hears from the right person, Satam prasangan mama virya sampado bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata tajoshanat ashu apavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. That one's progress in Krishna consciousness will be sure because one is imbibing the form of the Lord in the form of transcendental sound from one's ear and taking it to one's heart. Bhavanti ritkarna rasayana kata. And then one progresses step by step in devotional service, which I'm going to mention right now, for those of you who don't know. So the different steps mentioned are mentioned by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Ado Shradadata Sadhu Sangota Bhajanakriya. In the beginning, the first step is we have a little trust in the Shastras, that Do Shraddha, dealing with devotional service, and we have a desire, some attraction to take to devotional service. And when we do that, then we seek out the association of sadhus. And when we seek out the association of sadhus, we inquire from the guru and from other sadhus about proper practices and devotional service. And then we begin to execute devotional service, which is called bhajana kriya. Bhajana kriya starts with taking initiation, or at least accepting the guru and executing the 9 processes of bhakti, at least some of the 9 processes, especially the process of hearing. Shushusho Shradanasya Vasudeva Kata Ruji Syan Mahat Sevya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevana. So hearing is a service. Oftentimes the devotees think service means something you actively do with your limbs, like cooking for the deities, which is service. or cleaning the grounds, or cleaning the temple room, which is definitely service. But hearing is a very important service. Prabhupada said if we don't hear regularly, if we don't read regularly or hear regularly, then we'll go away. So, Nasta Prayashovade, Nicham Bhagavata Sevaya, to continually hear from Bhagavatam, at least on a daily basis. So everybody has that as their service to hear regularly. So that's Bhajana Kriya. And then after Bhajana Kriya, then one works, not after, but while one's doing Bhajana Kriya, one engages in getting rid of anarthas, anartha nivritti shat. And when you get rid of anarthas, then gradually your bhajana becomes nishta, or steady in devotional service. And then your meditation on Krishna may still have, but sometimes the mind goes from spiritual to material. You really have to keep controlling your mind in a steady, in the platform of nishta. And then after nishta, then you get ruchi, or a taste, in devotional service. All this is from hearing properly. Then you get a taste in devotional service, and after ruchi, you get attached to Krishna. That's called ashakti. And then after that, you get rata, or rati, or bhava. And after that, you get prema. So all this is pradabhurve bhavet krama. This is actually the process of devotional service, and it all comes from hearing about Krishna. Just like Rukmini, she was hearing about Krishna, and her natural affection was awakened. In the same way, when we hear about Krishna on a regular basis, our natural affection, whatever we are in the spiritual world, whatever our relationship is with Krishna, becomes revealed to us. So, any questions or comments? Keep it short. Yes. Well, if someone's presenting themselves as a Vaishnava, and they're not a Vaishnava, what is a non-Vaishnava? There are several types of non-Vaishnavas. One is someone who acts like a Vaishnava, but they're materialistic. Not like you. You're not materialistic. You're a real Vaishnava. Another type is someone who is actually against the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Let's say a Mayavadi, an impersonalist. You know what that? Impersonalist or Mayavadi, Shunyavadi. And they may talk about Krishna, but for some other, their motive may be to merge into the existence of the Lord, or their motive may be to do a Bhagavad Saptaha to make money. So if you hear from such a person, it spoils your devotional service. Just like the example given, Sarpo Chistiyatapayam. It is like taking milk touched by the lips of a serpent. That means poisonous. Okay? Anybody else have a question? Yes.
It made me think about how it says, like in the Gita, like pure devotional service is rarely achieved. But if it's such a step-by-step clear process, why is it rarely achieved?
It's rarely achieved, but if you follow the process, I mean, basically, there's other verses in Bhagavad Gita that talk about this. Manushanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhye Yatatam Apisadanam Kashchit Mam Veti Tatvaha. Out of many, many thousands of men, perhaps one is looking for perfection, and out of those, perhaps many of those, perhaps one knows Krishna truth. Also, there's Bahunam Janmanamante Ganavamam Prapajate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. That after many, many, many births, one comes to understand Krishna. Such a soul is very rare. So basically, it is very rare, but by the mercy of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Kali Yuga, it can be achieved quite easily. Dina hina yata chilo, harinam udarilo. If one follows the process, not only follows externally the process, but follows the process with one's body, mind, and words in one's heart. So it is not rare for those who follow. Okay? Other questions or comments? Yes, Mother Emily, you have a question. Oh, Varian. Oh. Okay.
You mentioned the Arsha Vigraha form, the Lord, is eternal.
Yeah.
What about the temple building itself and the temple grounds? Is that eternal?
Well, it's an incarnation of the Lord. It's Balaram right now, because the temple is being used. That was an interesting question that was raised the other day to me, too. Right now, because the temple is being used. Right now, because we're using this temple to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's a manifestation. It's a holy place. It's a manifestation of Lord Balaram. However, if, I'm not saying this is going to happen, if somehow or other, let's say someone bought this property in the future or something like that and turned it into something else, it would not be a holy place anymore. So it's like a temporary manifestation. Krishna transforms, like Prabhupada would often give the example, that Krishna can transform matter to spirit and spirit to matter. As an expert electrician can transform electricity from heating to cooling energy. So, everybody knows the deities were originally made of stone, and you can also have deities of sand, you can also have deities of the mind, you can also have deities of paint. Even that picture is a manifest, sorry, it shouldn't be pointed. That's an offense. That picture is a deity. Because it's a manifestation with paint and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, done according to the instructions of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, and the Vedic conjunctions. So that's a deity too. And the deity can also leave. That may be shocking to you. And I always tell the story of how a group of devotees was visiting a temple in India, and they came to see Prabhupada. And these devotees were not properly respected or hosted at the temple. And they told Prabhupada they weren't properly respected or hosted at the temple. And they said, but we went to see the deity. And Prabhupada said, there was no deity there. And the devotee said to Prabhupada, but we saw the deity. And Prabhupada said, you heard what I said. There was no deity. So Krishna could leave, or Krishna could come according to his own free will. He can transform matter to spirit and spirit to matter, whatever he wants to do. So he manifests himself in the temple and in the deity, as the deity. I don't want to say in the deity. That's actually not philosophically correct. If you say Krishna is in the deity, that's not philosophically correct. Sakshad Rajendra Nandana. Krishna is the deity. The deity is Krishna. Sakshad, directly. He manifests himself in that way. So the temple is a manifestation of Balaram, and if the building was not used for Krishna, then it would be not a manifestation of Balaram. So it's temporary. In one sense, the temples that are established around the world are temporary Vaikunthas or holy places, whereas the permanent holy places are places like Vrindavan, Mayapur, like that, Dwarka. These are permanent holy places. So, but right now, these are non-different. And Krishna is here. Does that make sense? Krishna is here. That is Krishna. Not that. He is Krishna. She is Radharani. There is no difference. And this temple, cleaning the temple, is the same as dressing the deities. Because the temple is a manifestation, and the altar is a manifestation of Balaram. Spiritualized. We don't appreciate it. Just like many times people go to Vrindavan and they don't appreciate it because Vrindavan is covered with this thin layer. It's called a veneer. I'm not going to say thin veneer. Some people hate that. It's covered by a veneer of Yogamaya. But right now, we are so fortunate to be sitting in a spiritual abode of Krishna by the mercy of His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada. And we don't understand how fortunate we are to be sitting here. We take it for granted. We come into the temple, we're not concerned what we look like or how we're dressed or anything like that. We don't properly respect the abode of Krishna. So, good question. So, who else? Mother Umali, you had a question.
To Radhika.
Yeah.
That what I see is the reason it's so difficult is that at each of those stages, people don't go to the next stage.
Right.
That so many people who will say, I believe in God, but they never actually change their association.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many people just associate with devotees, but they never actually take up the process. And then there are people who take up the process, but they never make a commitment to take initiation. And then there are people who make the commitment, but they just act superficially. They don't really want to clean the anartas from the heart.
They never work on the anarta.
They don't work on the anartas. Like Prabhupada said, if you don't want to get rid of your anartas,
No, you won't get rid of them.
you won't get rid of them. So, I mean, Prabhupada does say that once you get to Nishta, everything is very easy. And until Nishta, it's a hard struggle with determination. And you just see practically people like hesitating or stopping at each of those places, and they kind of like stay at a particular level for a long time.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the main reason why it's so rare.
So that means we should also be aware of what level we're at, so we know what challenges and how to go to the next level of Krishna consciousness. Good. Thank you. So, any other questions? Yes. Whoop. Too late.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Menam Kanvandam Maravindanalayataksham Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Bhagom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Pan Vikayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Purusham. Namaho Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Sammaniti Namane Namaste Sarvati Deve Gurmani Prajane Nivesesha Shunyavati Matshajagate Satarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radhara Sivasadi Go back to Brenda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanichananda Jiya Dvaita Gadada Siva Sade Gaurvata Vrenda. Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanichananda Dvaita Gadada Siva Sade Gaurvata Vrenda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hey, rate, Jai Om Vishnu Pada. ISKCON founder Acharya, Nandagoti, Vaishnava, Vrindagajai, Namacharya, Shilahurida, Staka Gajai. Friends, say, Kaho Sri Krishna. Anandam Buddhivardhanam, Rajikudam Amritasvadanam, Sarvatmasnapanam, Param Vijayate, Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, Nam Nam Akari Bahuda, Nija Sarva Shaktish, Tatrapi Niyamata Smaranena Kala, Etadrashi Davakriva Bhagavan Mamapi, Durdaiva Drishanihan Aninan Raga, Trinadapi Sunichena, Duroriva Sahishnana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Siddhari, Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim, Kavitamba Jagadavitamaye, Mama Janmani Janmani Shvare, Bhavatat Bhakti Ahaitaki Chaye, Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, Patitam Mam Vishme Bhavam Buddho, Kripaya Tavapada Pankaja, Stita Dili Sadrasam Vachintaya, Nayanam Galuda Ashudaraya, Vadanam Gadgara Rudyagira, Pulaka Nichitam Babukada, Tavanama Grahane Babishiti, Jugayitam Namishena, Chakshusha Prakashaitam, Punyaitam Jagat Sarvam, Govinda Vidahaname, Asli Shivapada Mam, Darshanam Marmatam Karotabap, Tatata Bavadanatu Lampato, Matprananata Sevanapuraha. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon, is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benedictions to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you easily enable you by holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respects to others. such a state of mind, one could chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shikshashtika ki jai. Jai. Okay.